Okay, we're going to open up the meeting. I'm sorry we're a couple minutes dragging a little bit, but open up the meeting with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and we're first going to begin with acknowledgement of a heroic act that happened in our township. Bensalem Township, you have to, if I mispronounce it, Zafar Batalo and Kamita Batalo. They had a 2-year-old, is that the actual child? Okay, yeah. They had a child that was actually drowning in the pool, and some of the family members were trained in CPR and were able to save the child. So it's a tribute to the people who got the proper training and had the, calmness to get the job done when it needed to be done. Go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. We're here tonight for something very special, as the councilman had stated, to see individuals who actually put their training and their knowledge into practice to save a human being, a 2-year-old child. So I can't think of a better thing to be given out tonight, along with council, our mayor, and our whole Department of Public Safety. So I'm going to read the citation, and then we're going to honor all three of you. And obviously, Denny's, he's an honor just being here. This evening, we recognize the Batalov family for their heroic efforts to save their 2-year-old family member, Dennis, after accidentally falling into the family swimming pool. The Batalov family was enjoying a family gathering at their pool on Bristol Road in Bensalem on the evening of August 6, 2022. Suddenly, Kamita, who's here now, his aunt, realized one of the children who was playing by a nearby table was missing. She immediately got up to walk around the pool and search, and she saw Dennis submerged under the water. Kamita shouted for help immediately, and Vasil, the uncle of Dennis, immediately jumped into the water, swam to the bottom, and retrieved Dennis. He brought him to the top, where he handed him to his father, who was here also with Dennis. Kamita and Zafar immediately began CPR until the child regained consciousness. The child was underwater for about 2 minutes. Videos showed us later. EMS arrived on scene and transported Dennis to the hospital. Thankfully, Dennis made a full recovery, and if not for the swift actions of these 3 family members, Kamita, Vasil, and Zafar, it might have been a very tragic outcome. So tonight, you are hereby recognized by the Bensalem Township for Police Civilian Life-Saving Award. Congratulations.
Well, it's good to see you again. We were over there right after that happened, and it was an incredible day, and with the fire trucks there and everything, it was great, and all the other children were there, and it was a great day. And it's an incredible story here in Bensalem, and we're very grateful for how it happened and be able to be trained to dive in and get that young man there. It's just unbelievable that he survived, and Bensalem make sure they have a new mayor coming up there. So it's all good. So I will read one of these. Your courageous actions of our child were very admirable. Saving a child's life is a heroic act and deserves a lot of praise and respect. We often take for granted the very things that most deserve and gratitude. We thank you for that, myself and council here. And from the 3 of us, we're right here. Certainly, Phil, come up again, and these are for. I have a question now. One is Pavlova and Pavlova. Is that female? Yes. Okay. I have to make sure because that's the last name, right? That's one. That's you, right? Congratulations. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Looking at the scores.
Yeah, it's really good to get training for the CPR because everybody will want to help in that situation, but if you're not trained, you don't have the instincts to do what you're supposed to do.
We do have somebody that trains in Bensalem, Gail, CPR Saving Lives.
Oh, does she?
If you're on Facebook, check her out. She's wonderful. She can get you certified in a few hours.
Good, good, yep. Okay, next on the agenda is public comment for agenda items. Now, we will have an opportunity at each agenda item, and then there's public comment at the end. Okay, so our next thing on the agenda after that would be approval of council minutes from August 22nd. Does anybody have any changes they would like for the 22nd? And then we'll discuss this change for this meeting. Any changes to the agenda? Seeing no changes, or a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved?
Minutes.
Excuse me?
Minutes. Working on the minutes.
Yeah, minutes, yeah. August.
Said agenda.
Okay, sorry. Minutes for the meeting. So you made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, any against? Okay, so that's good. Thank you, Deb. We've done the minutes, yeah. Yeah, no, we're not done the agenda, the whole agenda. But, okay, next. Now, Mr. Pizzo, is there any changes to the agenda tonight? Okay, the council agenda this evening.
Yes, there are, Mr. Knowles. On this evening's printed agenda, item number 13, which is preliminary and final minor subdivision for Chase Bank. The township received earlier today correspondence from counsel representing the applicant, requesting that, or advising that one of the neighboring property owners who had been notified of the hearing could not attend this evening. And so the applicant, upon request of that adjoining property owner that the matter be tabled so that they can appear, the applicant is agreeable to that, and the applicant is requesting that the matter be tabled to a date certain of your council meeting of October 17, 2022.
Okay, is there a motion to, move? Is there a second?
Second?
To October 17, 2022?
Thank you.
There's a first and a second, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay, that's good. Anything else, Mr. Pizzo?
Yes, item 14 on the agenda, which is the preliminary land development for Johnson Development, which had been previously tabled to this evening's agenda. On Friday, we received correspondence from the attorney representing the applicant, asking that the matter be tabled from this evening's agenda in order to allow them to continue to work to address some of the ongoing concerns regarding the application, and are requesting that the application be tabled to a date certain of October 17, 2022. The applicant has also granted the township an extension of time for all the applicable deadlines under the municipality's planning code through and including October 31 of 2022.
Okay. Is there a motion to move this to October 17th?
So moved. Second?
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any against? Anything else, Mr. Pizzo?
Finally, not appearing on this evening's agenda, but we would ask that it be added as item, I'd say 8A, would be a presentation from the Township Finance Manager as to the Township's MMO, minimum municipal obligation, for all of the Township's various pension plans for fiscal year / calendar year 2023. This is a presentation that the finance manager is required to make annually. It needs to be done before the end of September. It does not require any official action by the council, but it does need to be read into the record what the township's pension obligations are projected to be for 2023. So what we would need is for that item to be added as Agenda 8A. Again, it will not require any action by the council, but you do need to have it presented, and it does
Okay.
require an amendment of the agenda to do that.
Okay, is there a motion to add 8A as the municipal obligations for pensions?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any against? Okay, so that's done. Anything else, Mr. Pizzo?
No, that's all I'm aware of, sir.
Okay. All right, number 4 on the agenda is consideration of public hearing and ordinance amending the zoning, Chapter 232 of the Township Code, Residential District R12, R55 Riverfront Revitalization District, consideration of public hearing and ordinance. So this is the actual change, Joe, and then there's going to be a,
Well, what this,
also an advertisement?
what this item is, Mr. Knowles, is this is the continuation of the public hearing that began at the council meeting of August 22nd, 2022. As council will recall, at that time, we began the public hearing on the proposed ordinance that is a proposed text amendment to the township's R55 provisions, the Riverfront Revitalization District, within the township's zoning ordinance. So that public hearing lasted for a few hours at our August 22nd meeting. It was then, on motion of council, tabled to be continued this evening to afford the administration an opportunity to reflect upon and act upon some of the testimony that was received that evening. The administration has done that, and item 4A on this evening's agenda, which is authorization to advertise an ordinance creating a new zoning district, the R55A Riverfront District, is an outgrowth of what was heard during the first part of the hearing on the R55 changes. So procedurally, what has happened since the August 22nd hearing is the ordinance, the R55 ordinance, the ordinance that is now in front of you, was re-advertised so that everyone would know that the hearing did not conclude at the last meeting and that it was still continuing this evening. So that was re-advertised. There was some question previously as to whether the ordinance was available at the law library. So it was resent to the law library to make sure that a copy of it was there and that they were made aware that we were in the midst of a hearing in case anyone should come in looking for it. And a copy was resent to the Courier-Times as part of the advertisement. So all of that was done in advance of this evening's meeting. The R55 amendment was also, or the R55A the R55A ordinance was also drafted, circulated to all of you, and the administration is asking you this evening to authorize the advertisement of that ordinance to be considered and potentially adopted at a future council meeting. What the R55 ordinance would do, in response, as I said, to a number of the comments that were heard on the night of August 22nd, is that it would take all of the R55, well, the R55A ordinance would put back, if you will, a number, in fact, all of the light industrial uses that are currently in R55 that are proposed to come out of R55. They would be put back in to R55A. And then a number of properties in the riverfront area would be rezoned to R55A. Those properties are proposed to be any of the R55 that is north of Street Road. So anything that is north of Street Road, or if you're looking at the riverfront area, anything that's on the Neshaminy State Park side of State Road would be rezoned to R55A. Those properties would ultimately have the exact same uses they have today. They would have once the R55A is adopted and those properties are rezoned to R55A. Everything that is below Imperial Court would be, everything that is below Imperial Court and to the west side of State Road, the train track side of State Road, those properties would also be rezoned to R55A. So if you are below, on the city side of Imperial Court and on the train track side of State Road, those properties would continue to have the uses that they currently have today.
Joe, is it from the new Renaissance Road to the railroad tracks? Not everything?
That's where we were going.
Okay, good.
From Street Road to Imperial Court, that section, and on the train track side of State Road. Renaissance Boulevard is been proposed, and you'll recall the condemnations for Renaissance Boulevard were approved at the last council meeting. Everything that would be west of Renaissance Boulevard, the train track side of Renaissance Boulevard, from Street Road all the way down to Imperial Court, all of that will also become R55A. So anything that you can currently do today in any of those properties, you'll be able to do once we're done the process of creating the R55A district. So the only thing that would remain R55 is everything that is on the riverside of State Road and everything that is between State Road and Renaissance Boulevard, between Street Road and Imperial Court. That rectangle, maybe it's a little clearer on this map. That rectangle, Street Road, Renaissance Boulevard, Imperial Court, State Road. That rectangle and this area will stay R55. Those will have the text changes. Those will no longer have the light industrial uses. Everything else up here, along here, down here will stay exactly as it is, but it will have a new zoning designation. You will now be R55A.
After we advertise.
That is the
pass second.
proposal that we're asking council to consider tonight. So, you may want to, as part of the conversation on the R55 text amendment, if anyone has questions about the R55A, we can certainly deal with that
Now,
during that hearing.
Does R55A have to be scheduled to a date certain or any date?
No, R55A, if you authorize it tonight,
Yeah.
has to go to the Planning Commission, has to go to the
Okay,
County
right, right,
Planning
right,
Commission.
right.
We'll get input from the property owners. We have to, because after we adopt and create this new R55A district, we then have to rezone. We have to go through the map and literally start to rezone all of the different
Right,
properties.
and just to clarify too, Joe, that tonight, if we vote in favor of changing R55, everyone's getting changed tonight, so there'll be, the properties you're talking about that'll be in R55A will have about a month period or 2-month period.
About a 2-month period.
That they will be changed, but then they're going to be changed back. Because we have to advertise it first.
That's our proposal. Because of the way, because of the sequence that things are happening, R55, the text amendment of the existing district will happen, then we will create the new district, and put everybody, or at least a number of the businesses down in that area and the properties in that area, back in to R55A.
Right.
So the net effect, as you're saying, Mr. Knowles, is by 60 to 90 days from tonight, everybody who's north of Street Road, south of Imperial Court, and between Renaissance Boulevard and the railroad tracks would have all of their light industrial uses back. Those would all be by right uses again. In the meantime, they'd still be able to do exactly what they're doing,
now,
but it's going to be a
grandfathered, yeah.
process to put all of those uses back in.
Okay. All right, and again, you can ask questions about that. Is there anybody that would want to, now, yeah, we have a question for, well, do the council questions first, and then we had a long meeting with a lot of objections, and we reacted to some of those rejections, and we tried to negotiate a little bit here. But, so we also we passed the minutes from our last meeting, which are filled with the objections that we read again, okay? So when we get to the point where the public is, if one or two people say something, you can make your comments, but let's not do like 15 people saying the same thing, you know what I mean? So if we could not.
And
Okay.
as you're saying, Mr. Knowles, before you take comments from,
Yeah.
or questions from council, the owners of the property on Marwin Avenue, for instance.
Right.
They expressed concern during the meeting. If you move forward with the R55 and R55A that we're proposing tonight, they'll have all of the uses they have today, they'll have again. The Samuel Drive
Samuel Drive, same
properties, we
thing.
heard from a number of those property owners.
Right.
If we go through with the R55 and R55A, all of the uses they have today, they'll have again.
Right.
We heard from property owners in industrial properties down near New York Avenue and in those industrial pockets down there. Everything that they have today, if you do the R55, R55A, they will have again. So
Okay.
that's the net effect of what the administration is proposing.
Okay, so we'll do questions from council. Joe, do you have a question?
Yeah, Mr. Pizzo,
Yes, sir.
this ordinance was asked for by administration, not by council, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that. Why are we doing this in two phases? Why don't we just do it in one phase and do it right the first time instead of doing one and then doing another one to make up for the things that the resident or the businesses want down there? Why are we doing it in a two-phase issue instead of doing it one time and doing it correctly?
It's our recommendation to you, as your attorneys, that in order to best effectuate the process that you've undertaken through your authorization of the advertisement of the R55 ordinance back in July, the best way to effectuate what the purposes of that ordinance were and are is for you to adopt that ordinance this evening. And then, in response to what you heard during this process, respond to that by way of creating the new R55A district and rezoning properties that are essentially west of Renaissance Boulevard and outside of the center concentration of the R55 riverfront area, restoring them to some of the uses that are proposed to be eliminated from the R55 district. So that's the reason that we're proposing to you that you do it in this fashion, so as not to otherwise jeopardize, minimize, compromise the township's position and the township's ability to effectuate the changes that were authorized by your advertisement of the ordinance back in July.
But we haven't voted on that ordinance yet, so it hasn't been approved. But my question was, is there a reason that we're doing that instead of doing it one time and doing it correct the first time, instead of taking it, putting it in, and then coming back and changing it to give all the stuff that shouldn't be taken away anyway?
I apologize if my prior answer wasn't specific enough. If you'd like me to get into the legal rationale behind what we're
Is
recommending.
it part of being advertised and going through planning?
My suggestion to you would be that we adjourn for a brief executive session, and I can share with you, without sharing to the world, what our legal beliefs and what our legal theories are in terms of what the township is doing and how best to effectuate it.
Well,
But the reason that we're doing it in the process that we're doing it is, the R55A was, I don't necessarily want to say an unintended consequence, but it was not part of the thought process when R55 was first, the R55 text amendments were first brought forward for action by this council. But the overwhelming commentary from the property owners down there, which all of you heard, led to some discussion, as we promised we would do, and this idea of, again, how to best address the concerns of a number of property owners, the Samuel Drive property owners being chief among them. When R55 was put into place initially 17 years ago, the hope and expectation was that that area of the riverfront would undergo the same transformation that we've seen take place in other areas. It hasn't. And the likelihood that that particular area is going to undergo a transition anytime in the near future, the administration anyway was persuaded that that was a valid argument. And so by creating R55A, the same tools are still available to property owners who might want to purchase a property or properties on Samuel Drive and redevelop them in the fashion that the township is hopeful will occur throughout the Riverfront District. But in the meantime, as to those properties, they will still continue with the uses that they were concerned about losing as by right uses for the foreseeable future. So they'll still have, if you will, the best of both worlds that they have had for the last 17 years. Again, when you'll recall, when we first created the R55 district 17 years ago, the proposal was at that time to eliminate all of those uses from throughout the district. There were also a number of heavy industrial uses that were permitted in that district at that time. And a process similar to this one occurred. Businesses came out, and a lot of those heavy industrial uses were, not a lot, almost all of the heavy industrial uses were eliminated from the R55 district, but the light industrial uses remained. The township heard the business community, the township responded. So now we're whittling away a little bit more, and so the light industrial will still, if we go the R55, R55A plan, the light industrial will still remain in the fringe areas, if you will, but the heart of the R55 district, both on the riverside and on the side immediately adjacent to State Road to the west, those areas are going to be under the R55 without the light industrial zoning.
If we voted tonight, yeah.
If you, obviously,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
vote that
yeah,
way
yeah.
tonight.
Okay, Stacy, you have a question?
I do. So, Mr. Pizzo, in relation to Mr. Polari's question, if you could, since I'm new to the council, you said we have to go to Planning Commission and go up to county to have R55A approved. If we had done this, say, as one fell swoop, it would be the same exact process where we could approve one, or would both of them have to go up to county, in a sense, if we were going to do it that way? What would the change be from that perspective, from a process perspective?
From a process perspective, anytime the township seeks to amend its zoning ordinance or its zoning map, the process requires a visit or a review of the proposal by the Township Planning Commission, where there's a public hearing, a review by the County Planning Commission, and their findings are also adopted at a public meeting of the County Planning Commission. And those recommendations come to you typically in the form of a written report or minutes from the Planning Commission meeting, depending. In the case of the County Planning Commission for the R55, the ordinance that we are in the midst of discussing, the County Planning Commission issued a report, and it was favorable and supportive of what the township is doing.
So we already went through part of the process.
So we've already gone through that process for the R55. We will go through that process with R55A, assuming a majority of you say, yes, that's what we want to happen.
For the sake of being redundant, I want to make sure I get this right. R55 would be existing west of Renaissance Boulevard, but we eliminated heavy industrial, and on the east would be R55A. Is that correct, or is that incorrect? It's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite, okay,
It's the
that's what I thought, okay.
If you consider the train tracks the west and the river the east.
All right.
So what roads are they then that would be affected by the ultimate change from R55?
What roads?
What roads that have industrial
Well-
on them currently?
Anything between,
Well, yeah, I don't know, I don't remember all
Okay.
the names of the roads,
Well,
so
there
just to
aren't
be
roads,
sure.
some-
Sure.
Some of them are right on State Road, but some of them do have some roads going down.
in between Waterside and what was Columbus Country Club area on the riverside.
So everything that fronts Street Road to the north, or is otherwise north of Street Road, whether it fronts it or not. If it's north of Street Road, it will, our recommendation is that those properties would be R55A. Those properties,
So they'd stay the same as they are?
they will,
Stay the same now.
90 days from now, they
90
will
days.
be,
Back
they
to
will
what they
be
were.
back to where they are today.
Okay.
Okay,
It'll be this 90-day window, and then everything will go back for all of them. All of the properties that front on Samuel Drive would go to R55 and will 90 days from now, if you adopt the ordinance tonight, if you authorize R55, they would keep all of their light industrial uses by right. Everything that fronts on Imperial Court would remain R55. Everything below that would be, I'm sorry, everything below R55, everything below Imperial Court
R55A.
would be R55A on the west side of State Road. Because there are a few properties, Waterside obviously is on the east side of State Road, and that continues down below Imperial Court. And down into, there's an R55 property below Waterside, and there's R55 as far down as Station Avenue. On the riverside, those will be R55 still. But everything that is on the west side of State Road would become R55.
A.
And by staying R55A, those will keep all of the uses they have today.
Okay. Michelle, you have any questions? Are you okay? Public? Okay, so is there anybody in the public who has any questions about this or further comments that they didn't make the last meeting? Yeah, come up to the podium right there, please.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Rich Mooney from Columbus Country Club, and although I was listening to Joe, I'm wondering if we could have a copy of that map, so just that I could show our members, because I'm not sure.
Well, I don't think
exactly.
Columbus Country, I could be corrected, but Joe, Columbus Country Club's a separate zoning, right? Isn't it?
Columbus Country Club is currently zoned MXD,
Yeah,
so
they're
your
MXD.
zoning is not proposed to change at all.
Yeah, they're not.
I'm aware of that,
Okay.
I knew that we were in that zoning, and just, when you held that map
know,
up,
but
I
it's
was
still MXD
trying to
right
see
now.
that, I'm just
Sure.
curious
It's
if I
not going to
could.
be 55.
Oh, thank you very much, that's my question.
Okay. Okay, is there anybody else? Yep. Okay.
I'm Howard Weiss from 2944 Samuel Drive, and I want to thank the administration because they did listen, and we did meet with the administration, and we did lay out our concerns. As the last meeting, I was hopefully very clear on my concerns. So I just have some, Mr. Paizo, some procedural questions. So if I understand it correctly, for some period of time, if it's adopted tonight, R55, as it was drafted, we would be R55 for some period of time. but that's what would be drafted and we'll say law today. If there is some procedural issue, some problem going from now to that 90 days, we're stuck at R55, correct? Not the R55A, which everybody's intent would be that we get there. And I won't bore everybody with the two stories I shared with the mayor, one from Philadelphia Councilman Brian O'Neill and Councilman Nutter when he was council, and two projects in Philadelphia where we had all the great assurances and they both went sideways. So,
Okay,
you
well,
know,
I can assure you, we're not Philadelphia.
I know,
Okay, second of all,
I know, and I do believe that
you're-
everybody's
It's gonna get
intent.
changed, well, I can understand your.
A procedural thing, we're there, if something happens before we get.
Nothing's gonna happen. We're
Okay.
gonna vote today to advertise it. It's gonna be advertised, it's gonna go in front of planning, and we're gonna have a vote on it, within 90 days.
Mr. Pizzo,
So,
what would be
yeah.
the risk?
Well, there are no absolutes in life, in anything, so, you know. That being said, if procedurally things go sideways on R55A, you would have the ability to come to the township, if the township doesn't do it on its own, to revisit what we've done with R55 and figure out a way to undo it, or figure out a way to account for the fact that there are properties in the riverfront area that we want to continue to have the uses that they have today. There's always more than one way to skin a cat. I've had conversations with counsel for Grassi as recently as earlier today, and you know, one of the outgrowths of that conversation was, you know, there are a number of different legal ways to get from point A to point B, as we were discussing the merits of the route that the township is currently undertaking. So there's enough high-priced lawyer power in this room right now that if things go sideways on us.
One of my greatest concerns.
I'm
which
sure-
you said high-powered means high-priced.
Yeah, but we're making a public.
And I have one other question, is there was 7 removed in the R55. We're going to keep all 7 in the R55A?
All 7 properties on Samuel
No,
Drive?
not 7.
I'm sorry.
There was, I believe, I'm going by memory, there were 7 items removed, zoning items by right in R55. So in R55A, of all those 7 items going to stay as we read it today?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Currently,
And we're advertising it, and we're saying publicly that we're gonna do it, so we're not gonna,
No,
One-
I know there's never intent to do that, but
yeah, I know.
the process sometimes goes in
I understand.
ways we
I
don't
understand.
expect. Back to the question, why can't we just do it at one shot?
Yeah,
once
well,
once
because-
council authorizes it for advertisement, and the ordinance is advertised, it will be available just as this one was for everyone to view. What you'll see is that I took the liberty of rearranging a few things to make them make more sense in the new district. But everything that's in R55 in terms of a permitted use is in R55A.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Sir, spell your last name, please.
Pardon me?
Spell your last name.
Weiss, W-E-I-S-S.
So Mr. Pizzo, somebody in what we're changing to the new R55 wants to sell their building before R55A is passed, and those uses are no longer in R55. Now they're stuck, they can't sell their building because of the difference between, and this is why I'm asking why we can't do it one time and make it easier on everybody and give everybody the opportunity to be treated fairly. Why, what happens in that 90, 120-day, 6-month period, whatever it might be, if they want to sell their property and they can't because we put our 55 in and not doing it at one time? I'm just asking the question.
I'm sure if any of the owners of the businesses out here entered into an agreement of sale tomorrow, I'm sure they'd be thrilled if they got through a due diligence period and got financing in place to sell or have someone buy the building in 90 days.
It has to be a settlement date. They would be able to put a settlement date after the change.
But-
They wouldn't. Same thing, right?
No, you can't lease it if you have.
Well, you would lease it
You can't
after,
lease it
after the new zoning, 55A, so this is what we're compromising to do, so.
You can always come back here, and again, the current uses are still grandfathered for 90 days. It's not suddenly everything goes away. Whatever use you're making of your property for the next 90 days will still be a permitted use in the sense that it is an existing non-conforming use. And you still have the right to engage in it, you have the right to expand it for that matter. So we're hopeful that the window we're trying to make the window as tight a window as we can. If we could do it tonight, we would recommend to the council that you do it tonight, but there is a process, and the process has to be followed in order for it to be effective.
Yeah, and there's,
Can I request an executive session?
Sure.
Thank you.
okay.
Well,
Well,
you can ask
I
me,
guess-
it's up to
yeah, I
Mr.
guess we can
Knowles.
have
To
a
discuss
executive
this
session.
matter further?
Okay,
Sir.
I guess.
Well, you have to say.
Yeah, we'll have an executive session back in 10 minutes. Mr. Pizzo is going to try to use a pointer and try to be a little bit more explicit of what properties in the future are considered to be changed to 55A. And then also we'll explain that we were in executive session.
And understand that Mr. Neron is in the process of creating a more detailed map that will identify each and every property, and will identify whether you're in the R55 or the R55A. So, but generally speaking, so that everybody, this is the township zoning map as it exists today. This is Street Road right here. Everybody see that? Okay. Everything, this is north. Here's the river. This area in here is R55 right now. This will become R55A. So this will have light industrial by right. This area in here, this is Marwin Avenue. And this is Quentin? This is Center. These properties today are R55. The plan is for them to all become R55A and have the light industrial uses they have today, along with all of the other R55 uses they have today. So that's everything north of Street Road and west of State Road. Anything in here that's R55 will become R55A. The R2 will stay R2, the R1 will stay R1, and the R55 will become R55A. This is Imperial Court. Everybody see that? This portion of the R55 district will become R55A. So all of these businesses in here will be R55A. The R1 will stay R1, but everything that is below Imperial Court and west of State Road, and here's State Road, all of this becomes R55A. Everything that is on the east side of State Road, the river side of State Road, up here, 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 and here, that is currently zoned R55, will stay R55. If you are on the river side of State Road, your zoning designation will stay the same. Your uses will change. Your uses will now be, again, if council adopts the ordinance, will have those light industrial uses removed. The uses you're currently making of your property, you will continue to be able to make as existing nonconformities, but this area along the waterfront is all going to have the change in the text amendment.
North of Street Road? The river?
Yes.
Why, did that just change?
Sir, what's your name? You can't just speak out. I need your name.
Jerry's CIFF, 3161 State Road. I was informed where you have that little doodad.
Yes.
Point to your right.
Mm-hmm.
Those three properties, which is north of Street Road. If Street Road continued to the river, which it doesn't.
Right.
From that point north to the park, that's going to be all A.
I'll look over to the mayor. Is that accurate, Mayor? Okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. I misspoke. So everything north of Street Road, whether you were on the east side or the west side, you will become R55A. That leaves this pocket of Street Road, State Road, Imperial Court, train tracks. This area is going to be dissected by the newly constructed Renaissance Boulevard. For those of you who were here at the council meeting last month, council authorized the condemnation of the rights-of-way necessary to construct Renaissance Boulevard. And it basically runs right down the middle of this rectangle. Everything that is on the riverside of the new Renaissance Boulevard would stay R55. And everything that is on the railroad side of the new Renaissance Boulevard will be R55A. So if you border the train tracks, if you're between Renaissance Boulevard and the train tracks, between Street Road and Imperial Court, you will be R55A. That is, of course, everything that's up here in this corner that is Samuel Drive, all R55A. Everything that is down here in this rectangle will stay R55 and would be subject to the new changes to the R55 ordinance. So the R55 district will ultimately be here, 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 and up to here. R55A would be here, here, and here. R55A would be here and here. R55A would be here. And everything below Street Road on the riverside that is currently R55 will stay R55. Everybody got that?
Okay, thank you, Joe. Okay, so is there anybody else that would like to make public comment who hasn't addressed? I understand some people are going to be for it, some people are going to be against it, but otherwise we had council questions. So we're on number 4, which is, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. Just say your name.
How's it going? Yeah, Brian McDonough, Venture One Real Estate. We are the property owner of 2901 Samuel Drive. We want to thank the mayor and the council for meeting with us and considering our request. We understand it. We get it. I think from a business perspective, I think it's really hard for us to operate in the next 90 to however long it's going to take to operate a business with zoning that is now changing. So for some perspective, we operate industrial facilities. For this period of time, which is unknown to us, we're not going to have the right zoning. So we would request, if it is possible, to postpone this and do this in one fell swing.
Well, you're going to be grandfathered in what you're doing now, so it's not.
The building's currently vacant.
It's what?
It's currently vacant.
Okay, well, we would have to work with you then. You know, we can't, I don't know. Okay, I understand your concern.
Yeah, and you know, and we are doing transactions, so to the point about someone closing in 90 days, I mean, for perspective, we bought this building in 45. So it is impactful, you know, in this period of time where
Okay,
it's not.
well, Mr. Pizzo, could we work with somebody on an individual basis if we had to, in a situation like that?
Is the property under agreement of sale? Is that what I understand you to say?
No, we're in active lease negotiations and on the 1 yard line.
Active lease negotiations?
Yes.
Okay, well, the township, in the context of a lease situation, ultimately, the ability to use or not use the building for whatever use is dependent upon the zoning officer issuing a use and occupancy permit for the building. So depending on what the use is that you have, if it's currently a use that is going to be grandfathered should council adopt this tonight, then the zoning officer is going to issue you a use and occupancy because it's a continuation of the existing non-conforming use. If it's a use that is similar in nature to the existing non-conforming use, the zoning officer is going to issue you going to give you a zoning cert and issue you a UNO because it's an extension and continuation of the existing non-conforming use. If you're going completely off the rails and going to a different use, which is allowed today, would not be allowed tomorrow, but would be allowed again in 90 days, if council authorizes the advertisement of the ordinance under the same theory that's being used in regard to the R55, the same theory would arguably apply to R55, and the zoning officer could issue you the ability to occupy the building, knowing that the township is in the process of putting the use back in and making it a by right use. We can work with you on that to make that happen. So if you're a property that is intended to be an R55, that is intended to be an R55A, we'll get your tenant into the building.
Understood. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So that's good, right, Joe? Okay, all right, so if there's nobody else, there's no other questions, the first thing would be, who?
I thought he had his hand up.
Well, they have to come up, I don't know,
Oh,
they
no,
can't
the
wave their
gentleman
hands.
here, I thought he put his hand up. Yes.
He's just scratching himself.
Oh, sorry,
Okay,
I saw a lot of corner of my eye.
scratching his head. All right, anyway, okay, so I'm going to close public comment on this. Okay, so we had a lot of it, and we met with the mayor, we met with the administration, and we met with people, we met council, executive sessions, and the mayor's met with a lot of people from this area, so I think we took a lot of it into consideration. Is there a motion on number 4 to authorize the changes to amend R55 as it currently exists?
So it would be a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Adopt the ordinance, yeah.
I put a motion that we adopt the ordinance as presented to us, reading that the ordinance of the Township of Bensalem, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, amending the Township zoning ordinance, Part 2, Chapter 232 of the Township Code, to amend Article 5, Residential Districts, Division 12, R-55 Riverfront Revitalization District, Section 232-271 with the use regulations, and this is to appeal all inconsistent ordinances and to establish an effective date thereof.
Okay, is there a second on that motion?
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any against?
Aye.
Okay, nobody's waving? Okay, so the ordinance passes 4-1. Okay, on 4A, the authorization to advertise an ordinance establishing the zoning of R55A. Is there a motion?
I'll also put that in form of motion to be accepted as presented, which is the authorization to advertise this ordinance, amending Chapter 232 zoning of the Township Code, Article 5, Residential Districts, to create a new division, 12.5, R55A, Riverfront Revitalization District, to establish the various purposes, regulations, standards, and requirements thereof, and therefore, and to repeal all other ordinances or portions of ordinances inconsistent herewith.
Second?
As presented.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, you have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any against? You in favor, Joe? You in favor? I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Okay, so the authorization to advertise passes 5-0. Okay, thank you. Okay, number 5 on the agenda is consideration of resolution and municipal grant program for funding the department. You think we just came back? We'll give a few minutes to let everybody leave that wants to leave. We have the rest of the night's thrilling, but you might want to go home and see your family.
Nobody wants to hear my report.
And Mr. Knowles, while the room is
Emptying, yeah.
is somewhat emptying, items 5, 6, 7, and 8,
And 8A.
which are all tied into the municipal grant program.
How can we all be
You
at
can
once?
you should have separate votes, but you can have a singular discussion on those 4 items.
Okay, and then we'll do 8A after that, right? Okay.
Who's that?
Oh.
Okay, so we can do the presentation for 5, 6, 7, and 8, which are all in reference to grants.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. As we do every year, we are in the process seeking council's permission to submit to the Redevelopment Authority for the municipal grant program that the county puts on an annual basis based on eligible to municipalities that are touching the casino location. So the first one that we're looking to submit for is a Department of Public Safety Emergency and Apparatus Facility. We're looking to submit a grant for $1 million. This grant, this building would be built over by the Public Works facility. It would basically be a pre-engineered building and a garage, basically. So what it'll house is a different public safety apparatus, that is currently either being housed outdoors or in existing public works garage bays, where we're trying to free up space for them as well as the fire truck will be housed over there as well. So that grant, we're looking to permission to submit for $1 million to the redevelopment authority.
Okay, and then number 6?
The next one is an annual submission that we do. It's a integration of police record management systems throughout Bucks County. So currently, we have 39 police departments in Bucks County that all share data, and the redevelopment authority has been accepting of this grant in previous years to pay for the annual maintenance of the software as well as storage for the software. The grant submission is going to be for $115,600.
Okay, and then number 7?
The next one is the annual submission for the 6 volunteer fire companies and the EMS. This is for any type of capital improvements that they're doing to their facilities, or if they still have radio obligations, since we don't submit for a radio grant anymore, they could use this money towards the radio grant as well. We're requesting $350,000, which would avail $50,000 to each company should the redevelopment authority issue the full $350,000.
Okay.
In previous years, it was only issued for $10,000 for each company, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, that would be good if we can get that. Number 8?
The final one is one that we do on an annual basis as well. This is the Intergovernmental Agreement for Towns Against Graffiti. So this is the same resolution that's being adopted by Bensalem, Bristol, Lower Southampton, Middletown. All 4 of those municipalities are submitting on behalf of it, even though there are other municipalities, but those municipalities are adjacent to Bensalem, so therefore they will put in the request as well. We are requesting $175,000 with the redevelopment authority. This goes for funding solely for the Towns Against Graffiti program.
Okay, does anybody, any council members have any questions about any of these resolutions for our...
So we're putting in the full request for tag?
Yes.
Or are they, okay.
Yeah, so we put in the full request. All the municipalities still pay an annual dues, as well as I said, there are some other municipalities that participate that aren't adjacent to Bensalem, like Tullytown and Pendle and places like that, which can't apply for this grant. However, they're included in the Towns Against Graffiti program.
Just, can I interrupt
Absolutely.
you for a minute? The perception is, though, that Bensalem gets that grant. The perception out there. And it's not just for us, it's for all Lower Bucks.
Yes.
And I want people to understand that. We apply for it and we get it, and we do everything with the
We
grant.
manage it.
Yes,
Correct.
we do.
Exactly.
So I just want you to know, so that's not just Bensalem, but the perception is Bensalem's getting another grant, and that's not true. I just want you to realize.
But we're getting the grant in order to manage it for all of Lower Bucks.
Correct.
That participate in TAG, which is a great organization. I've actually had them come out
Yeah,
and
it's very
clear
good.
up some graffiti I've seen, and
It's
they're
great.
amazing. And haven't they taken up some other things of cleaning up some areas or
Sure.
doing different
They
things, not
also-
just graffiti?
Yeah, they also work with the townships for sanitizing playgrounds, for doing some trash cleanup if necessary. They do trash cleanup in different municipalities. So the grant encompasses more than just graffiti removal, but that is the major expense of the program.
Thank you.
Is that one full-time employee?
He is one full-time, the owner of the company does have a few part-timers that work with him. I think he has one full-timer that works with him on a regular basis, but yes. And it is an outside contractor that handles that program for the townships.
Okay.
So I have one more question, I'm sorry.
No problem.
So I know that a lot of kids are looking for service hours via Scouts and/or Community Service Corps, either at Bensalem or any of the other high schools. Are they ever looking for volunteers for TAG?
Not that I'm aware of, but
Liability? Okay, I just want to be
liability
sure,
wise, yeah.
because it's always a question I get on where they can volunteer now.
Sure.
So,
Okay, you won't want to get hurt. Anything else, John, or?
That's all I have for the municipal grants. I have a pension one after you're all done.
For 8A, okay. Okay, so we need to approve these one at a time, even though we discussed them as each goes. So does anybody want to make a motion for number 5, consideration of the grant?
moved.
Okay. Is there a second on number 5, public
Second.
safety emergency? Okay, there's a second, Stacy Champion. Okay, all in favor of consideration of resolution for municipal grant for the Department of Public Safety and Apparatus Facility? All in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay, that's good. Number 6, is there a motion for the integration of police record management system grant? Okay, we have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, it's approved. Number 7, the grant for the fire equipment for 6 volunteer fire companies and the EMS, which would be $50,000 apiece, you're saying, John?
Correct.
Okay, if we get it, is there a motion to approve this? Mr. Polari, any second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Champion, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. Number 8, consideration of the intergovernmental agreement for the Towns Against Graffiti, that we get the grant and share with the Lower Bucks County community. Is there a motion to approve that?
Moved, so moved.
Okay, Ms. Champion, any second? Okay. Ms. Benitez, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. All right, next on the agenda is 8A, the municipal obligations for
Yes.
pensions report.
Sure, as Mr. Paizo
John,
had...
your title is what here?
Finance manager. Well, right now I'm the pension administrator.
You didn't
I was the
introduce
finance manager a second ago.
Just want to make sure, the public might not know you as much as you think, you know?
Thank you.
Okay.
As Mr. Paizo had mentioned, every year in September, the annual minimum municipal obligation for our pension plans are calculated, and we have to read them into the council minutes.
Okay.
So for 2023, the police defined benefit pension plan will have a township contribution of $4,252,877. The non-uniform defined benefit plan will have a contribution of $359,859. And then the non-uniform defined contribution plan will have a contribution of $201,200. And that, no action for you guys, it's just for the minutes.
Okay, and you don't see it, and that's all good, right?
It will be proposed in the 2023 budget that the mayor will present in November and December for adoption. And no, the pension plans are in great financial shape right now.
Okay, and then, again, that's just read into the minutes as for records. Okay, thanks. Anything else that you need?
No, thank you very much. Unless
Okay,
you need anything.
thanks
from
for
me.
coming out. All right, next,
Yeah, I have a question.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Since the interest rates are going, and 401Ks and things are diminishing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Does that mean in the future we're going to have to approve additional funds for these?
Yeah,
pension
so
plans?
it's all based on pension draws is what is required from the pension plans. The investments obviously help offset the contributions. So yes, right now, with it being a down market, we could face a future contribution increase. These contributions were based off of 2021 calendar year, so it's always a year lag. So when the market was doing well in 2021, we're seeing the results in 2022. So next year's, or 2024's will be a little different.
So at the budget time, we'll be revisiting this, is that correct?
It'll be, those numbers will be proposed in the budget itself. So we're not putting anything additional. That's what the state requires us to contribute. The state also provides the township state aid for our pension plans. I'm sorry, can I borrow that sheet again? I put it on the bottom. This year we received $1,512,000 roughly that was contributed to the pension plan. So that $1,500,000 will offset our contributions that we have to make into the pension plans. So we'll make but the total required was what I read into the record.
Okay, John, and on a separate issue, since Mr. Kisselback brought that up, on a separate issue, on a positive note, we were able to refinance any debt that the township had for the most part to
Sure.
very low interest rates
Yep.
that are fixed.
Correct. Everything,
Okay.
all of our existing debt a few years back was refinanced to fixed rates that are at a very low.
Extremely
like-
low.
Like 2
Right.
3/4.
They're 2 3/4%, and now, well, regular conventional mortgage rates were 7%.
Yeah.
You know? But that was
Yes.
a deal when I first bought
We
a
do,
house,
yes.
But anyway, but that's okay. All right, anything else? Any other questions for John? Okay, John, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Okay, number 9 on the agenda is consideration of a reduction of permit fees for Holy Ghost Prep for their annual craft show, November 12th and 13th, 50% off and a waiver of the performance bond. Okay, is there a motion to
Joe,
accept?
they're asking for a 100% waiver on the performance bond.
Yeah, 100% on performance, that's what I said. Yeah.
Okay.
50% on the
thought you said-
permits and 100% on the bond.
Oh, my apologies, I heard 50%.
Okay, so, and they have their own insurance, so we should be okay with that. Okay, so is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make the motion that we approve it as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. Okay, and then we have several development agreements here. Number 10 is escrow releases. Do you have this?
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
the
President.
first one is Bensalem MZL. Go ahead.
Correct. The first one's Bensalem MZL, which is the old Kmart and the Amazon Fresh that we've been speaking about. We're recommending a release of escrow, which takes us down to 0. The amount is for $32,785. They've completed all their tasks that need to be
Okay, so
completed.
the Amazon market is done, pretty much.
As far as their site work, it is.
Right, right. So that should be opening as far as we know at some point, right? It looks nice.
Someone else will have to answer that
Okay,
question.
so hopefully, because that's a big Facebook topic, actually, when that's opening. Okay, okay. All right, so hopefully that'll open soon. I'm trying to learn how to use it, actually, so I'll prepare.
I haven't used it yet either.
Yeah, it's going to be. Okay, so, and you're fine with this release and to be subject to audit by the Finance Department? Does anybody have a motion to approve this release?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay, the second one is the Galway Reserves, AKA Victory Square.
Right, that's
Go ahead.
the one over near Parks and off of Galloway Road. We reviewed the developer's request for escrow number 3 in the amount of $142,918. We received that. We're recommending a $60,418.43 release. They still have some work to do, highlighted on the last page. We're waiting for stabilization, releasing funds for some of the trees that are showing decline. We're holding that to make sure that they're going to survive, and until as-bills are submitted. So there remains $60,418.
They still have that much more work to do?
Well, it remains $82,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, $82,000. The $60,000 is the release.
Yeah, yes.
No, basically, they still have $82,000 worth of work?
Yes, and that includes contingency as well.
So we're leaving, we have plenty of money to make sure they finish what they have to finish.
Yes.
I mean, it's been a while.
I know, I
It
would have
has
thought it'd be
been.
done too.
Can we do anything to move this along, or?
I'm going to ask Quentin if he wants to give a brief overview of what's going on at that location.
Okay.
So basically, the issue is the stabilization, the grass growing, the trees growing. So they were planning on, I think it was last week, to come in, do some fertilization, put some more grass seed down. We're just going to wait. Hopefully this month, weathers are good. We'll get the germination started, and we can close up the job in the spring as soon as everything's germinated.
Okay.
So that's their game plan, and we think it's acceptable.
And it's that and making sure the trees are surviving.
Correct.
That you have the ability to replace.
So,
Okay.
can I ask one question?
$82,000 loan?
Yeah.
Well, no, well, basically, the contingency is the biggest line item. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that's pretty much the bulk of the money that you have.
Yeah, that is the bulk of what's remaining.
I'd rather have too much than too little.
Correct.
So I know prior on council, I think I did ask one time, or maybe I asked outside of coming into a meeting, about the water that comes down the street within Victory Square, that comes out onto Galloway Road, that goes down and then goes into the creek.
Okay.
That did wash away a lot of the asphalt. I know that they just did pipe replacement across the creek and everything. Has that water runoff been fixed? I know that one of the answers you had given to me prior was we were waiting for everything to be done for the drains to take effect because
Right.
I ride Galloway Road a lot. I have kids.
Yeah.
I'm riding around the township, going
Yeah.
on the turnpike, and
Right.
it's
Oh, I
one
know.
of those
Yeah, I've
main
actually-
roads. And that was one of my main concerns is
Right.
that asphalt going down into the creek and being taken away, and we have a giant pothole there again.
Correct. So we have not been out during the rain on that, because basically when it rains heavy, we're not around. So it's one of the things we are checking. We've talked to them about too, because I know I guess it would be the western side of the high side of the project, one of the inlets there, collecting all the water from the top of the ridge, that will still had its bag in there, which we've been getting that taken care of, and it finally did get taken out. So that helped in your situation to get more water into that area. So we'll have to check that out for you.
Weren't the drains had to be cleaned? Weren't they clogged, the drains?
They had the
for some
bags,
reason?
they had the inlet protection in the bags, so they weren't taking any of the water in. They would, if there's any silt in the bags, those bags will fill up and the water wouldn't even go into the storm sewer system. So the system's now functioning, the basin's now draining, so hopefully everything's working like it should. But like I said, I haven't
Unfortunately, we're
verified
supposed to get
everything.
rain this weekend, but I guess you could go out Monday and see the result.
Correct, like you gotta see it during actual rain events, so a lot of times we're getting downpours at 5:30, 6 o'clock, we're not around.
Yeah.
So it's like a hit or miss.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. I'm just tired of seeing the pothole that gets generated
Right.
when
I know
they were
PennDOT's-
doing their work.
PennDOT's tired of me calling them anyway, so.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve this $60,418.43 release and keeping 82.5? Subject to the audit by the Finance Department. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. Release number 3, Spodarto? What is it?
Sperduto.
Sperduto, Tennis
on
Avenue.
901 Tennis Avenue.
Yeah.
And they've put in a request for a $50,000 release of escrow. We've authorized a $10,425 escrow release. That remains $39,743 in their pot.
Okay, what do they have left to do?
They have to finish their earthwork. There's a grading that still has to be done. Work hasn't been completed on the site paving, so they have quite a bit of the type of work, but it's not a significant amount of money.
Okay, so it's release and partially fencing. Okay, is there a motion to approve this release of $10,425.50?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. Okay, the next one?
The next one is item 10D, and you should have received in your packet today an amendment to our 10D. There was a checks and balances correction associated with that. So the original
Okay.
10D that was in your account or in your packet is no longer valid. This one is for the temple on Mechanicville Road.
Right.
That they were requesting an escrow release of $392,000, and we are recommending an escrow release of $115,000. For similar situation, they have a large contingency as well as the performance of, let's see, it's mostly contingency. We're waiting to make sure that the rain event that Quentin talked about earlier is something that we can check out before we release some of their drainage money.
And we have how much left after you're done? Because
Right now, well,
270.
right now we have $233,000.
Oh,
How
no,
many do we have?
no, it says this release is 233, is that what you're saying? And the amount's left is 255?
The release is $233, and the remaining amount's $255,000.
Okay, so the second one, okay, so I had two copies of the agenda.
I was going,
Are you sure about that? I think,
no, that, oh,
The
sorry.
release is
I'm getting my
115.
confused, I'm reading off the old one.
yeah.
Yeah, I had a different number too.
115,000, I apologize, $115,000 escrow. I should have ripped this one up.
That's what I said, I figured the new one had more.
$115,000 with
We're
276
keeping
remaining.
more, yeah. So we have 276,78 left there.
Yes.
Okay? All right, and, okay, is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, any against? Nope. Okay. Number 11 on the agenda, consideration of a modification of conditions of the subdivision approval for 4020 Mechanicville Road. Someone for that?
Good evening, Mr. Knowles. Matt McHugh on behalf of the applicant, 4020 Mechanicsville LLC. As council may recall, we were back before you in the spring for a rezoning and 7-lot subdivision approval for this property. Council ultimately approved both the rezoning and the subdivision. An adjacent property owner came up and addressed council about an alleged easement that she believed she had running through the property. One of the conditions that council imposed then was that we would not essentially record the subdivision plan until the easement litigation played out in the Bucks County Court of Common Pleas. The time that we agreed to that condition, we had anticipated that that easement litigation would have been resolved by now. It still is currently pending in the Bucks County Court of Common Pleas. It is being held up by the backlog in the courts, primarily caused by COVID and other things. And as a result, the project is missing the ever volatile housing market. So we're seeking relief solely from that condition tonight. And the reason we're seeking relief is so that we can go forward and record the plans and construct the single-family dwellings that are on the lots that are not impacted by the alleged easement. So in the letter that I sent council, and I have copies I can provide, you can see we've identified in purple hatching where the easement would be if Ms. Roman were to be successful in the court litigation. And you can see on that exhibit that if she were to be successful and were to be granted an easement by the court, it would only impact lots 2 and 3. So what we're seeking modification of the condition for would be to allow us to record the plan, create the lots, and then only construct lots 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7, leaving lots 2 and 3 free from development until the court resolves the easement litigation. That allows us to move forward with the project and get those lots constructed that are not subject to the easement. The property's been rezoned, it's been subdivided by council, all the other conditions of approval are achievable and attainable, and even if Ms. Roman were to be successful in court, they would not preclude the development of those 5 lots. If she's successful, we'll provide the easement for her, and we'll have to modify the plan for those 2 lots in some fashion and get council approval. If not, we still have our 7-lot subdivision. So I think this is a mutual benefit to everybody. It preserves the rights of the litigants over those 2 lots, but allows the developer to proceed and not miss the housing market with the increasing rates and things of that nature, and get those 5 lots that are unencumbered by the easement litigation developed. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
And the other individual lots have their own stormwater stuff, so they're not
Correct.
affected by lot 2
There's
and
no
3.
public improvements that would be associated with this.
Right.
To the extent that there are any minor grading or utilities, they can all be located outside of the easement area, and that would be part of the record plan. Your township engineer would review that before it got recorded to make sure that there was no conflict between the easement area and public improvements.
Okay.
The only question I have is, if the court says that they're in her favor.
Sure.
Okay. Is that going to cause any issue with you further developing lots 2 and 3 based on already positioning lots 1 and 4?
We'd have to no, I don't think lots 1 and 4 would impact this at all. We'd have to either maybe consolidate lots 2 and 3 into 1 lot in order to make that achievable. But again, if that were to occur, we'd have to come back to you and get an approval of the configuration of those 2 lots.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so does anybody else from council have any questions for the litigant? Hey, Joe, do we have to open this to public comment again, or?
Well, yes.
Okay.
And first, Mr. McHugh, you did send out notices to
That's
adjacent
correct.
property
Yeah,
owners?
they were sent out by Federal Express, and I believe a copy of the proof of service was provided electronically to the township today.
I believe it was as well. I just wanted that to be reflected on the record. Secondly, following the council's approval of the rezoning and the approval of the land development plan back in March of 2022, the township, I want the council to be aware that interested parties would have had a period of 30 days to file an appeal of your decision granting that approval to the Court of Common Pleas. No such appeals were taken from either your rezoning of the property or your approval of the land development plan at that time. So to the extent that someone, in particular the property owner with whom there is the dispute, could have had the ability to challenge your approval of the plan in court, no such appeal was taken. So I wanted you to be aware of that as well.
Okay, and then, like I said, if they go to court and that person wins, then they're going to get their easement, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
And all this condition does is allow us to build the other lots.
Yes, okay. So is there anybody that would like to have public comment in reference to this, or are we all okay? Okay.
I'll put a motion on the floor, Mr. President. We approve the
Yes, sir.
request-
No, you can't do it, there's someone coming up,
Oh, I
actually.
see.
They were-
I'm
Yeah, they were
sorry.
taking a little bit,
I thought you were doing it. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Hello, my name is Janet Roman, and I would like to comment for my attorney at Eastburn and Gray. I would like to give you a copy of his comment so you can refer to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is re 4020 Mechanicsville Road subdivision, request for modification of condition of subdivision approval. Dear Supervisors, on behalf of my client, Janet Roman, I would like to submit the following comment regarding to the request made by 4020 Mechanicsville Road LLC to modify the condition imposed by the board on its March 4th, 2022 subdivision approval. My name is Janet Roman, and I am the owner of 3981 Grace Avenue, which is adjacent to the subject property. I am the plaintiff in the quiet title action related to the easement running across the subject property. An omnibus precipice to have this matter listed for a hearing was filed today with the court. We anticipate this matter will be listed for trial shortly. I do not object to the applicant's request for modification to allow the development of lots 4, 5, 6, and 7, as these lots are not affected by the easement and can be developed without harm to the existing driveway easement. However, I am concerned about allowing the development of Lot 1. My concern is that construction vehicles and equipment will be moved across the driveway easement and associated drainage ditches to access Lot 1, which could disturb the structural integrity of the driveway easement. Excuse me. To ensure that any earth disturbance and construction allowed to occur on the property does not disturb or materially damage the easement, I request that construction or earth disturbance activities not be permitted on Lot 1 until the ongoing litigation is resolved. Alternatively, I request that the condition be modified to prohibit construction vehicles and equipment from driving across lots 2 and 3. Vehicles and equipment could still access Lot 1 directly off of Mechanicsville Road. Thank you for your consideration of this request. We ask that you consider Ms. Roman's comments and consider it when deciding whether to grant the requested modification to the condition of approval. Very truly yours, Zachary A. Sivertson. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Do you want to make a comment about that, or? Sure. Okay.
I think Ms. Roman's concern regarding Lot 1 is reasonable, and to that extent, we would agree that we would construct or develop Lot 1 as the last lot to provide ample time for the courts to resolve the easement litigation.
And my question would be like, if you, because if you had an individual Lot 1, you'd still be allowed to build on it, right?
Right, Lot 1's unaffected by the easement, but it's closest to lots
But
2.
even if someone, I'm not an attorney, so I'm
Sure.
just asking you a question. If you have an easement over someone's property, that doesn't mean that the property owner can't use it, right?
Correct, and it's not an exclusive easement that she has. So to the extent that there is damage done or there is any other impact or inability for her to access the easement if the court determines she has it, there's common law rights that are not with this council's jurisdiction to determine damages and things of that nature.
Okay, all right.
My question would be to Mr. Pizzo, that regarding Lot 4, 5, 6, and 7, I can understand this lady's presentation because I had thought the same thing, but regarding what she had just said, no construction vehicles would be allowed to cross over Lot 2 and 3 anyway. Is that correct? I mean, you can't go crossing over people's property.
Lots 2 and 3, as well as Lot 1, and for that matter, lots 4, 5, 6, and 7, are all part of the same, at this point, all part of the same property. They're all owned by the same entity. You've subdivided what was an existing piece of land into 7 smaller pieces. They are all owned by the same entity.
They are.
Lot 2 and 3, the dispute is whether 2 and 3 are burdened by this access easement. But the underlying land is still that of the applicant for whom you've given approval to construct houses. So theoretically, the property owner has the ability to traverse lots 3 and 2 to get to lot 1 if that's what they choose to do. I don't want to go too deep into the easement issue because I don't know if the easement's being actively used or not, if how those sort of construction activities might affect that easement, but I would agree with Mr. McHugh's statement that at the end of the day, if the easement exists, it exists subject to some bundle of rights associated with it. And if it doesn't exist, then that bundle of rights isn't there. But in the meantime, in theory, if there is an access easement, the property owner is obligated to provide access to the easement holder. And under what terms, if there's not an express writing, and my recollection is I think one side believes there is a writing, another side says no, that's not a writing because it was never recorded and it was, anyway, that's an issue for them, not for you. So,
okay.
And what is an omnibus precept?
Omnibus precipi.
Precipi.
Yes, that's saying to the court, we're ready to go.
Ready to go. Yeah, the court's being held up by other issues too, though.
And this matter was filed, I know, several months, maybe longer, before the council held your approval back in March. So we've got to be coming up somewhere on the 9 to 12 month anniversary.
So you're both ready to go when?
I think it's almost 2 years at this point.
Well, you're both ready to go when the court's
So
ready to
you're,
go.
you're in agreement. You're in agreement then. You're in agreement to say that if we approve it, your company will.
We'll start right to left. We'll start as far away from the easement and move our way to give the courts time.
Lot number 1 will be the last lot.
And lot number 1 will be the last one.
Okay, and if you're crossing over, it's your property anyway.
We're allowed
It's
to
your
cross
property,
over.
and if you damage it, you're going to have to repair it.
And if we don't provide access, she's got another, we'll be in front of the court anyway.
Okay, all right, okay. Is anybody else? Okay?
I got it.
Well, come up if you're going to comment. But I don't want to go back and forth about that point, okay? So it doesn't, that's for the courts to decide, it's not for us to decide.
I guess the only thing I'm not clear is, do they plan to cut across back and forth throughout the easement, which will destroy the historic integrity and structural integrity of that 300-year-old lane that has been there for so long, that it's been built up with drainage ditches on both sides? So if they're driving, have you looked at do you have the subdivision plan to look at?
The point is, ma'am, that they're going to do lot 1 last, okay?
Right,
So
but I'm saying-
go to the court.
They're going to finish the other 4 completely and then
Well, if
just
you
work
have-
on
if-
one? I just don't want.
I know, but if you have a problem with that, then tell your attorney and go to court about it, because, but.
I'm
because you-
asking for information.
Well,
Will
we're
they
not-
be driving completely across and destroying the original
I
integrity?
know, but we're not
structural
attorneys
integrity?
and we're not court, so we can't give you legal
Well, then I
opinions
need
about
to
that.
ask him.
No, him.
No, you need to,
Attorney.
go ahead, Joe, ask her the answer.
I have no idea what their
I don't know what she's talking
construction
about either.
means and methodology is or is intended to be. Mr. McHugh has represented to you that, as part of their request for you to modify the condition, he's represented to you that Lot 1 will be the last one they construct. So, 7654, I imagine, will be some commonality of activity. What happens when they're done and ready to move on to Lot 1, I don't know.
Right, so it sounds as though they'll keep
But-
all the
but I would-
activity
I would
to the
imagine
right
that-
side of
Right.
Lot
To-
3.
to the
Right,
extent-
and hopefully they'll go to court way before then.
to the-
Right, because of what this omnibus precipice that was
To the
filed
extent,
Okay.
today.
Mr. Knowles,
Yeah,
to the extent that this is already in court,
Yeah,
and if the applicant intends to run a dump truck from 4 to 1,
right.
and they believe that they have a right, they can, as part of that litigation, ask for an injunction to stop them from
That's what I
driving
said.
Right.
dump trucks from 4 to
Or
1.
Advisor
maybe
attorney.
they could
It's
respect
not-
you
not-
while we're
Nothing
going.
for us to take.
Nothing for us to discuss. We appreciate your
Okay,
point,
I
but it's
just-
nothing for us to discuss.
We can't enforce that.
Okay. Okay, so is there anybody else? Seeing no closed public comment? Okay, is there a motion to approve this with the condition that they start with the furthest right to left and build Lot 1?
The 4020 Mechanicville Road subdivision request for modification of condition of subdivision approval based on the letter that we have of September 21st, 2022, requesting as such from Matthew McHugh.
Okay, is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay, good luck, guys. Well, on both parts, good luck. Okay, next is consideration of a request for, Quentin, I was hoping you were still here. I said, he better still be here, you know what I mean? So, okay.
I'm not leaving.
I'm looking up, I'm like,
Is that?
I said, the guy never leaves.
I'm working after this is over.
the mayor instructed John to go get rest. I hope you didn't take the cue to get out of here too, so that's what I was worried about. Consideration of request for loading zone relocation for the Saparpan Hindu temple located at 2746 Mechanicville Road. I
Yes,
tried to
so-
read through this, and I just didn't totally understand what you were doing, but go ahead.
Okay, so basically in brief discussion, the original approved land development plans had a grass paver in the front of the building toward the back end of the building for a loading zone. The owner had requested not to have that installed due to cost. Biggest issue was that the building's access for, I guess, the kitchens and everything else is in the back on the other side of the building. So basically where the loading zone was not in a feasible location to actually do any kind of unloading. The one other issue that was brought up was that the project was actually at the maximum impervious coverage. The owner didn't want to try and do additional impervious coverage on the property just to make this work. So we reached out to the fire marshal's office, which they, as you see, has responded back to us, basically saying they don't see a problem with them doing the unloading. As long as there's no parking on there, they do their unloading and then relocate those vehicles out of their fire lane. So. I
The
don't know
fire
if you have-
department's good with it?
Correct.
And you're good with it?
Correct.
Okay, my question to you would be, because I forwarded a complaint to the mayor's office today about parking on Megan Court, you know, where the twins are.
Okay.
and they're handling that tomorrow, I think, with our police and such. But where they get delivered would be on the opposite side now of the temple, adjacent to Megan Court, right?
Right. So the way we looked at it is the vehicles, instead of backing up, the plans aren't really too clear, but basically what the trucks would do is they'd be going toward the rear of the project and then backing up into that grass paver for their unloading. Now what they would have to do is actually go make a left-hand turn and then back up into the fire lane to get access into their doorways, which is at the back end of that building.
So it's basically the same thing or close to
Basically the same thing.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure they weren't making the situation worse.
And we're loading here.
No. So with the top of that, right in there,
It was hard to read.
Yeah, that was very difficult.
So here's the fire lane back here.
This is the back of the.
This is the back of the building right here. So this is all paved for the fire lane. So what they're going to be doing is instead of them coming in like this and backing in here, they're going to come in and go back this way. All the doors are in the back right there.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay,
these
so
are
it'll be in the rear.
in the rear corner.
Megan Court is right here.
Right.
They're coming in here instead of here.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Is there any other questions for, about this? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the change as recommended by our engineer?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay. So we're good. Okay. And then 13, Chase is moved to a certain date certain of 10/17, if you weren't here earlier. And Johnson's development is moved to a date certain of 10/17. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to make public comment? You can take a break if you want, Joe.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
Good evening, council. Joe Connolly, 568 Bristol Pike. I guess you know what I'm here for. Anybody want to guess?
Is the dirt pile still there?
It's the dirt pile, yep, dirt pile's still there. I'd like to get a date when the dirt pile will be removed off my property. It's illegal, it's been dumped there illegally. I'm getting all the water from his property, flooding my property.
All right, well, let's
I cannot
ask-
find a lawyer, I cannot find an honest land surveyor.
Well,
Out of 13 land surveyors, you think
all
you
right,
get
Joe,
one honest
let's
one?
see what
Oh,
Quentin
here we
is,
go. All
Quentin's
right.
working on this.
I've
Let's
been
see.
here for years now.
I understand. I'm a little frustrated at this point too, Joe.
I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't sleep.
Okay.
Let's Quentin.
Quentin,
Okay.
what's the deal on this? Why can't you get rid of this?
With the dirt. So we've been in communication with a couple of different people again. There's one area called KPK that we've been working with and talking to. The problem with him was he wasn't able to actually load and grade and seed the property when he was done. So that means we had to get somebody else in. So after talking with Ken Farrow from the building planning, what he suggests is reach out, get basically a platform of everybody we got in contact with. Try and figure out how to coordinate something, because basically KPK charges for every delivery. The problem is trying to figure out how much it's going to cost for the deliveries.
Not that, I don't want to be argumentative here, but who cares what it costs?
That's right.
Right, I understand that.
Who cares?
So it's just pretty much trying to
And
organize
if someone
it
else
because-
has to rake it and seed it, then let someone else rake it and seed it.
Right,
Why is it
well-
so hard?
Well, I think they're worried about because of the cost for the trucking and the cost of how much escrow is involved.
But it's, while we're paying for it first, we're billing the other owner, and they are going to be responsible to repay us somehow, some way, correct?
We already have an escrow.
There's an escrow
Okay.
already been posted
So-
for this.
So we've tried, okay, I can see if you just started trying
Mm-hmm.
and they said, oh my God, you spent all this money unnecessarily because we could have gotten it done cheaper. But you've been trying for years to get it done cheap.
Right.
So if you can't get it done cheap, just get
Oh,
it done.
That's what I mean, it's just really now it's just coordinating, and trying to get who's doing what and when.
So
So-
can we have this coordinated before we get to winter?
Yeah, that's our game plan. I mean, we're trying to get it out this week, but, till you talk to one contractor and he's not available, then
Well, I think if you
changes
could,
everything.
Can we get the dirt
I could be
moved first?
wrong, but if you can get the dirt removed,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's plenty of people who you could pay to grade and seed. Yeah, Mr. Connie could grade and seed. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people grade and seed.
Right.
Okay, so just get rid of the dirt and have somebody, and leave enough dirt to grade and seed, and then grade and seed it. Is it that hard?
I totally agree. I mean, there's a lot of dirt that's got to come out. That's why. You
Okay,
know,
so
the-
it's getting done.
Mhm.
Okay, so,
What if we were to put a date certain to have this done?
Thank you, Mr. Clary.
What if we say this has to be done by,
October 17th.
I was going to say October 15th, but we'll
Make
take
it
the
happen for you.
17th. It has to be done. It doesn't matter what the costs are. Whatever the costs are, Mr. Popley's going to have to pay the rest, and that's all there is to it.
I'll tell
It's his
Mr. Farrell
deal.
that.
yeah, I mean, it's not like he could never say that we didn't try to get it done cheaper. We've been trying and trying.
Oh, no, we've been telling them.
Just get it done now.
And now costs have gone up because gas has gone up, so it's just,
And
so.
he could have done
Would've
it
been done
himself
cheaper
and found
before.
better pricing if he wanted
What's
to.
Details of the court case, I mean, they're in court right now.
Oh, I don't know.
What's happening there?
I can't find an attorney. I offered one attorney $100,000, the Granger firm. Don't want to handle it. I cannot find an attorney. You believe that?
But you're in court right now, is that correct?
But I can't find an attorney. I cannot find an attorney. The one attorney, like I said, he walked into court in front of the judge and put a pen in my hand and wanted to withdraw right in front of the judge. Michael Kerdner, 25 grand. So far, I spent 250,000 to try to sell my property because Bob Owner built this illegal addition and people were covering it up. It's very simple. You got to know there's 12 inches in a foot, and they had to read a tape measure, and they had to read a title or a deed. And you start the POB, which is the point of beginning.
Joe, we put the date
Okay,
certain to get
Joe,
it done.
we got the-
Mr.
we'll get
Clary,
the-
I'm gonna tell
Joe,
you
let's get the
something.
dirt done first,
The rest
and
of
then
it-
hopefully you
Okay.
can find an attorney
I
and go to
appreciate
court.
that.
Okay?
But I've been waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't sleep anymore. This has been ruining my life. I'm trying to raise a family.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's bothering me.
October 17th.
Believe me.
October
I've
Okay,
been coming here for years.
okay.
17th.
All right, okay, so, Joe, we're gonna
This is not right.
get it done by October 17th. Okay, so, is there anybody else that would like to come up for public comment?
Good evening. Excuse me. Tony Williams, 3963 Bainbridge Court. Over the last several years, probably 5, 6 years, Street Road has been repaved from I-95 past Philmont Avenue, with the exception of 2 areas. From I-95 east to State Road, it's in terrible condition. I realize it's PennDOT, it's Bensalem Township. The other section is from 4151 Street Road, south to Toscana 52 Restaurant, which is at 4603 Street Road in Feasterville, Bensalem Township. That area has been under construction. Adjacent to it, the whole restructuring of the turnpike, grading and everything else. And now the 5-year project of Route 1 and Street Road. And they have repaired that road with covering pothole after pothole. The concrete's in terrible condition. It should have been repaved when Street Road was repaved. Why it wasn't, I don't know. And how any of you travel that on a regular basis and not notice it is beyond me. I had a pickup truck. It rattled your teeth. The road is in horrible condition. It's been that way for years. Ditto, as I mentioned, I-95 east. Now, part of that problem is I-95 at Street Road. And as I understand it, you mentioned at the last council meeting, with the implementation of the proposed Renaissance Boulevard, you're going to put another traffic light there. That area is a disaster area now. Now, maybe PennDOT finally has something in mind to fix that intersection. Whatever it is, it's going to take years. Should have been done 20 years ago. In the meantime, just get them to repave that section of the road from I-95 to State Road. We all know it's heavy truck traffic. and add to that some 400 vans from Amazon on a daily basis, the trucks that come in to supply Amazon, and nothing's being done for the public. Now, hopefully, I don't know, maybe the mayor knows what PennDOT's up to. They just pulled up the treadles today.
Everything you're saying is right on target. And then I'm going to refer to our township traffic engineer. We have been on this with PennDOT and tried everything we can. Street Road up there, I drive that all the time, the section up there past Old Lincoln Highway, you know, that, and from where they're constructing up. It's just a disaster. You don't get response from these people. We go to our senators, we go to our state legislators. They go to, PennDOT right now is, might as well not even talk to them. State Road, we do have some things going on. I'll let him address that on the I-95 down. I-95 and Street Road has been a disaster for years, and we've been trying to work with them. We had a slip ramp that I came up with 27 years ago, remember? To go right from Street Road right on, so you don't have to go up on the ramp. We spent money there. We had money in the budget to help. Can't get it done. So I'm going to let him take over now because he deals with our guy all the time from PennDOT. So,
What about our state rep and our state senator? I mean,
they go to PennDOT too, right? PennDOT's individuals that you take it up because you're working with.
Well, you don't have to talk to me about PennDOT. I've been fighting them for years.
Well,
so I know about PennDOT, but you represent me, so you've got to do the fight. I'm nobody.
No, you're right, and I do. Believe me, I'm going to let him take over because we fight this every day.
So first, I'll reach out to PennDOT regarding some of the paving operations to see what can happen. But one of the issues that PennDOT is dealing with, which affects everybody, is these small paving operations. Like, as an example, the Street Road one from 95 to State is a small section of road in comparison to PennDOT. Well, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the equipment to do it. They have to bid everything out, and it's costing them a ton of money, and they're way down. Their maintenance forces are down like 45%. So they are putting a lot of things on hold rather than just the essentials. Clearly has to be done. You mentioned Renaissance Boulevard. Part of the Renaissance Boulevard project happens to be the widening of Street Road, essentially from the 95, where you come off of 95, toward where Renaissance Boulevard hits at Cliveden, and then takes another lane all the way through to State Road.
Okay.
So you'll have 3 lanes the whole way. Still a way off on that one, and that's being done without PennDOT dollars.
Okay. But they could repave it in the meantime.
Well, certainly they can. So that's one area that desperately needs to be repaved. The interchange is a mess, as the mayor said, and we're the last interchange in 95 in Pennsylvania on I-95 to get even looked at with regard to a new interchange or even the slip ramp that the mayor talked about. The area in Toscana and that area is the same. It's the same situation. However, the turnpike is also involved with that one. So it's a very complicated matter. They're not putting any money in until all this construction is done along that section of road. They're going to be widening Street Road in the vicinity of the bridge that carries the turnpike over Street Road, which is going to again cause more construction headaches, but will also include a repaving and widening of that section of road, including the area around Lincoln Highway. So all this is happening right now, but all of our complaints and everything to try to get this done is not really falling on deaf ears, but it's just like it's not a priority with regard to what PennDOT's doing now. And they're pointing to the fact that they're doing Route 1 right now and Bristol Road in the township, and they're going gangbusters with those projects. These paving projects are kind of staying away for now.
This is a very small project to repave.
But they're very small projects, and that's why they're not getting the attention of the very large, in lieu of the very large ones. So.
Just to take grass and all the trash riding up there.
Oh,
from
yeah.
on the side of the road. They planted trees there after they built that section of the turnpike. You can't even see them. It's a disgrace, and that's Bensalem. And if we don't we've been cutting stuff ourselves, different places where they're not cutting it. It's a disaster, and they don't have help. They're telling you they can't hire any, they can't get help. So,
Okay, well,
Your-
we're working on it. We appreciate
your
you coming out.
frustration is ours, believe me.
We understand your points, and I agree with them.
Guy's right.
We're working on it.
I mean,
We're
you
working
drive
on
it on a daily basis.
I know,
I'm
it's,
sure.
yeah.
I do, I drive it a lot.
It's frustrating.
Okay.
But,
Thank
okay,
you. I
appreciate you
your
coming out,
time.
all right, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, we're closing public comment. Okay, so, left on the agenda is, new business or other business. Michelle, do you have anything? Yeah, I'll go to him, yeah. Mayor, do you want me to go to you first, is that okay? Okay, I will. Or maybe you were-
Well, certainly, we all know the fall festivals this weekend.
Yeah.
And that's certainly threatened right now by,
It's 3 o'clock, too.
Ian.
3 o'clock.
It
right?
starts at 3.
Yeah.
So Saturday starts at 3. If it rains on Saturday, Sunday is a rain date. If it should rain on Sunday, stay tuned. That's all I can tell you.
We'll move it to a date certain after that.
Well, I can't even do that. But anyway, we got a great program that day. So there's a lot going on. I think we can pull it off later if we have to, but there's a lot of money involved here, bands and
Yeah.
fireworks and stuff, so we're trying to work all that out. To our Jewish friends that we had yesterday, they had their Rosh Hashanah, and we were closed. That's why our meeting is tonight on Tuesday. And certainly on October 4th is Yom Kippur, so that's another day that they'll be celebrating. And Township will be closed October 10th for Columbus Day, so let you all know that ahead of time. I'm glad you just told me that. I came to work anyway. They don't tell me when it's closed. They'd hope, so I have to wait to see who's in here. But now I know I'm going to put it on my calendar. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, no problem. Mr. Pizzo, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, not this evening, other than to echo the mayor's sentiments to our friends in the Jewish community, Shana Tova, and easy fast for Yom Kippur.
Happy holidays to everyone. I just wanted to, thank you for the recognition of the family, the Badalov family that was here tonight. I can't wrap my head around that experience. And I mentioned earlier, but I'll mention it again because it is important. But from what I've researched, I think only 2% of people are CPR certified, most of which are emergency personnel. And we have an organization right in Bensalem called CPR Saving Lives that you can become certified, and you'll be taught how to do CPR and the Heimlich. My family and myself went through the program recently, and Gail was wonderful. So take advantage of it. It's a very low-cost thing that could help save somebody's life. So that's really all I have. I hope we can get to enjoy Fall Festival. If not, we'll see you soon.
And Phil, I assume you're good because you were talking a lot of the time. Okay, all right, okay, thank you. Ms. Champion?
So to all of our Jewish community, hope you have a good holiday yesterday and have a good one next week. September, while we are at the end of September, it is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I know that there are a lot of kids in Bensalem who are fighting cancer. We have a lot who are survivors. We have a lot who did not. It is very near and dear to my heart. So, and enjoy the Fall Festival this weekend, everyone. I unfortunately have a family commitment, so I will not be able to attend. And no, I will be at a regional Irish dance competition for my children. So we can go to nationals in Orlando and then Ireland. I tried it. I have 2 left feet. My grandmother did it, my uncle, my aunt did it. They used to have big things, so.
No, I never
But
Irish
yes.
danced. I wish I
So-
did.
But yeah, so hopefully.
I Irish danced when my dad chased me with a belt a few times, but besides that, I didn't.
No. So yes, no, I will not be there this weekend if we have it. If it's on another date, certain there, I will be at that one. But I wish everybody to have a great time and enjoy yourselves. And again, for all of our childhood cancer survivors, warriors, and angels, God bless.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Polari, do you have anything?
Ditto. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. Kisselback?
Yes, I would just like to give our best wishes to all our Jewish friends that celebrate Rosh Hashanah. The year is 5782. How about that? I did look it up. I didn't have it in my pocket. It's not on my calendar either, to tell you the truth, but I did look it up, and I believe that's accurate. And if it's not, I'm sure I'll hear from my Jewish friends. And Yom Kippur is coming up, and so I wish everyone well for their families. And especially, as Stacy had just said, it's Childhood Cancer Month. Is that correct?
Yes, the whole month of September is Go Gold for Children.
And so, I mean, that's something, if you think about having any kind of cancer disease in your family, and you reduce it to our children, it multiplies itself dramatically.
And it is a lifetime fight,
It is,
as my
so-
family has, my
so
husband's family.
God bless
learned.
everyone who has to contend with that. for
And
sure.
October is pink, go pink for breast cancer awareness, since we're there.
Happy Pride Day. I mean, did I say that? I meant to say
No,
Happy
no.
Fall Festival.
It is Pride Day.
Oh, it's your turn.
Fall Festival.
Can't forget about you.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. Okay, thanks, everybody, and I hope everybody, our people who celebrate the happy, it's actually New Year, I think, for Rosh Hashanah for the Jewish community. So I hope you had a nice holiday, and I think Yom Kippur is their most religious holiday of the year. So we hope you enjoy those holidays with your family and congregations. We have Pride Day, like the mayor said, Fall Festival. It starts at 3 o'clock. Yeah, 3 o'clock. It starts at 3 o'clock, not 10 in the morning. So it's 3 o'clock. Hopefully we'll get blessed with some break in the weather. And we hope that the people in Florida that are being hit with a storm are our prayers and hopes that that's not too bad for them. Okay, so we'll be back October 17th, and appreciate it. Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Good night.